ASMR video. Today we're drinking another drink review drink for this drink review, of course. And today, as you've seen by the thumbnail, presumably we're drinking. Look at that! It is a Brewdog beer, Hazy Jane, a New England IPA. Yes, and this is a canned one. I've had this in the fridge to make it nice and cool for the drink. Yeah, I really like Brewdog. It's one of my favourite drink brands. They have like really good beer. I don't know if it's like an English thing, like company or whatever. I actually don't know. But I have tried a lot of Brewdog drinks and I've enjoyed most of them. So before we get into the review today, I've been doing a little bit of research on just beers in general, and yeah, I guess I drink reviewing and talking about stuff. I want to keep this, still grounded, and I'm not like trying to be like artsy and not artsy, sorry, like kind of arsey and narcissistic about it. But I think based on what I've read and kind of researched, they're just really good ways of trying to describe flavour profiles and describing what a drink is like. So I'm going to do a little bit of that maybe, going to test the waters. Have we finally evolved and maybe got better at talking about beer? Maybe. So this is, as I mentioned, it is Brewdog. It's the company, it's the brewery, and then we have the drink is Hazy Jane. And as you can see down there, as I mentioned, it is a New England IPA. So a New England IPA, otherwise known as a hazy IPA, is like they're typically more like a floral, citrusy, even fruity kind of ales, IPAs, which I think originated in New England. It's a really contemporary IPA, and honestly, I quite like New England IPAs, even though I didn't really know about that's what I liked. Having actually researched it, I went, that is what I actually like. So I'm expecting I'm probably going to like this, but we've talked enough. Let's get it open, let's pour the drink and get into the best bit. Alright, luckily because it's a can, I only need to just open it like that. I can already smell it, and very floral. Let's get it into the glass. Now what you'll see is that it's probably going to be very cloudy. That's why it's called a hazy IPA. Oh my gosh, there's still actually some in there. So I'll put that to the side for now. Alright, right off the bat. Super citrus. Floral. Yeah, it smells closer to cider than anything else because it's very citrusy. And it's got a lot of like almost juicy sense to it, and I can already kind of taste it without even having sipped. I actually want to say there's mango in this. I want to say mango. Now I don't know if it'll tell me on the back. Usually in the UK actually they do sometimes tell you. Maybe not. No. It doesn't say so. But I feel like I am getting like almost like a mango or like a passion fruit sort of smell. Now there are a lot of people out there that will judge people for drinking a hazy IPA because apparently it's an IPA for people that don't like IPAs, and don't judge what people drink. It's not fun. Just let people enjoy what they enjoy, so yeah, it's like having a glass of fruit juice really, but it's an IPA. It looks really nice. It does look like I'm drinking a cocktail, but here we go. Let's take the first sip. Really can't smell any hops. It is really overwhelmed by the citrus, which I don't mind. There's a little bit flavours there. I would say it tastes nice, but those citrus flavours are not really there in the taste. By which I mean, I thought it was going to taste more acidic. Like, the smell is really, really rich. But this is very, very mild, actually. I thought it was going to be much more acidic, more fruity, but it's actually not. All of the flavours are like really, really dull. In fact, honestly, the sort of like almost malty bitterness actually comes to the forefront. There is citrus, but it's really, really mild. It's almost like an undertone. The scent, like the aroma, is really, really like really powerful. But then when you start tasting it, it's really mild. I'm starting to pick up a bit more of that sort of hoppy taste, but it's still quite subtle in there. It's more of like a malt that like is the core of it, and it's actually quite interesting because it is somewhere like, or I would almost say like medium bodied, based on what I am perceiving anyway, because it's both like light, but also there is a heaviness to the actual drink. It's hard to describe, almost like in the same way that when you take a tiny sip of like orange juice or any kind of juice really, you take a little sip, it's almost watery, but if you take a gulp, it begins to have a heavier, almost, I don't want to say syrup, but like syrup in the fact that it feels more kind of like denser when you take that bigger kind of gulp of juice. So it's very similar like that. It really is kind of like drinking juice, but all of it's in the aroma, not the taste. It is nice. It's not quite what I expected, I can't lie. I've never had a Hazy Jane before. Where is this? Where was this brewed? This is Elon, but I actually don't know where that is. I don't know if that's the UK or if that's somewhere in America. But I would assume it's probably brewed in the UK, or at least in Europe, because of shipping. Yeah, it doesn't actually say. Interesting. So the ingredients that are in here are water, obviously, malted barley, malted oats, torrefied wheat, hops, and obviously yeast. Yeah, I actually kind of get the oats a little bit. Like, I can't taste it, but now that I'm thinking about the oats, maybe that makes sense. I would love to know what other thing they put in here, because it really is giving me like almost mango or passion fruit. But again, it's all in the aroma. The taste really doesn't have it that powerful. Yeah, there's a really, really subtle sort of citrus taste, but actually, honestly, the taste in the whole drink is like super mild. It's kind of like drinking watery juice with a slightly heavier malty addition to it. But like in terms of the alcohol, you can't really taste it. Like I don't really know how else to articulate it. Maybe like a baked cider. Like if you could imagine mixing a sort of like very light cider with, say, like baked bread. It's almost like combining those flavours together, and you've got kind of like this, but it's very light. I'd love to know what it is about the sort of New England IPA that causes the cloudiness. I'm guessing it's that sort of like addition. I think, if I remember correctly, I think it, like the cloudiness comes from like it not being filtered, right? Like it's not quite as filtered, I think. But I could be wrong in that. I watched a whole bunch of like videos by beer sommeliers and brewers talking about all the different kinds of beers, and one of them was like a 1 hour video going through every single, not just like here's a pale ale, here's an IPA, here's a lager. It was literally breaking down all of the beers, and I only learned after doing that what a premium lager was, because before that I thought they would just like say premium lager because it's a buzzword, but actually apparently a premium lager means that it's a lager that is higher than 4.5 or 5% ABV, which I didn't know. So there you go, learn something new. I'm being educated by doing these videos. This is definitely a refreshing drink. I would say this is something that you would probably want to drink during the summer. The best way I could describe it is, or like the best scenario I think I could describe it to someone would be if you don't really want to drink a cider, but you also want something that's a little bit more summery. You could drink like this, for an example. I guess realistically any New England IPA, but like this particularly, I could imagine during the summer it's warm outside. I want a beer rather than a cider, but I don't want like a heavy lager. I want something a little bit lighter, but it still tastes like I'm drinking beer. And I think a New England IPA in this particularly would do really well for you. I just imagine it with sort of like summer vibes, to be honest, and I will be taking that into my future. Because I guess like once you start to understand beers, you know you can anticipate what you want for a situation, because you kind of know the flavours and the sort of thing that you want, like whether it's a food pairing or whether it's like a situation, like I said, like summer. Because I really could imagine being sat around a pool in the warm with a New England IPA. There we go. The taking steps before you know it. I'm going to be a beer sommelier. This will be a beer reviewing channel and solely. Don't worry, that won't happen. I very much doubt it. But I do enjoy doing these and learning a little bit more about beers. I want to go on to like the next step, which will be like trying out some spirits and stuff. I did do like a similar thing to this, but I did it with a whiskey, where I like deep dived into whiskey. But that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I really cannot remember anything about it. Maybe it wasn't 5 or so years ago, but within that time period. Actually, I think it was, because it was before the Big C, and that was like 3 years ago. Wait. I just had a realisation that it is nearly 4 years ago, actually, that all started. Jeez, wow. Actually, by the time this comes out, it will be 4 years ago. Fucking hell. Yeah, well, there you go. This is really, really nice. I also bought, you'll probably see another video in the future, but I'm probably going to record it within the few days of this one. I bought another drink, which was an American Pale Ale, which I'm really looking forward to, because I've never had an American Pale Ale, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what that tastes like. Do you know what I find really interesting about this? The fact this is an Indian Pale Ale, but it's not really that. I feel like it's just on the cusp of being an Indian Pale Ale, just because it's it's at 5%, which I think is like just on the cusp, right? Because I think, if I remember correctly, IPAs are specifically like pale ales, but more intense, more like generally higher alcohol volume. So I could be wrong. Might just be on the cusp. I'm not too sure. Oh, I'm almost done with this. It's a shame that these cans don't have like loads and loads in it, but at the same time, like, still pretty good. How much is it? 440 millilitres. So there's about 200 millilitres less in this can than some of the bigger bottles I've been drinking recently. Oh, and I found out that Storupaman, I still think I'm saying their name wrong, is actually brewed in England, and I think I knew that in the video, but the fact that it's brewed in England, a lot of people say that it doesn't actually taste like the Czech beer normally does, because again, big presumption, I guess, meaning like I don't know if my information is completely accurate, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be one of like the big pilsners, like one of the big brands in the Czech Republic for no, it's not Czech Republic anymore, it's changed. Yeah, it's I think it's Czechia now is what they want to be known as, right? So it's Czechia now, not Czech Republic. It used to be. Anyway, so Czechia has is like home to Pilsner, which is like the core of lagers, and oh my gosh, I've lost my train of thought because I had to go and search that up. But like basically, because Strapperman is meant to be from the Czech Republic, is supposed to be like a Praguean Pilsner. Oh, not a Praguean Pilsner, sorry. A Czechian Pilsner. Its like brewing process is different in the UK, which means that it isn't like the original, and so therefore it's not a good representation of actual Pilsner, I think is what I'm trying to say, which I kind of found out a little bit about, which I don't know if that's entirely true, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the actual beer itself. I mean, it was certainly better than when I was drinking the Menabrea of the week. Well, I don't remember if it was a week or not. But the video before, where the drink tasted like metal, which obviously meant that either was the brewing process, that batch, or like something had gone wrong in the storage, because that should not have tasted like that. So I'm tempted to get another Menabrea again in the future to try it again and say like, okay, that batch obviously was a bit shit. This is like a new one, but I want to wait until my shop like restocks everything, because presumably they're gonna have a stock of that there. It's probably a similar batch, so it's probably worth waiting a while for that to happen. But we'll see, because I do want to try and retry it. Anyway, this is really nice. Honestly, it's not for everyone, and I can imagine like kind of like people that really like that strong, either whether it's bitter or just like super hoppy, non sort of external flavoured beers are not gonna like this. I don't agree with like judging people only drinking New England IPAs, because everyone just has a preference. Like, who gives a shit? Beer is beer. Just drink what you enjoy. Don't judge others for what they drink. But I can understand why people might not like this and might not want to drink it. But also, I can imagine why people would. If you just don't want that overwhelming like flavour that maybe you're not used to, it would be really good. And I'm pretty sure people talk about New England IPAs now as if they are like introductory beers for people that want to get into IPAs and ales, because they're super accessible without being like really different and overwhelming. I guess they are different, but like if your palate is not ready for certain drinks where you're just not gonna like it, and maybe that's an issue that I've had, because I don't really drink ale. I only really go for lagers for the most part, and that's why I've been doing lagers as of recent, because I just feel like I've been overwhelmed with the ales. But even with this, I feel like I've enjoyed drinking it, and I'm determined to go back through and like widen my palette and try more drinks and try different ales as well. And you know what? I'm gonna say it now. I'm ready. Not now, but I'm ready to accept that I will try a porter again. Now, I think the porter that I had, maybe I really pushed my boundaries by going for a plum flavoured porter, rather than kind of like easing my way in and then taking a porter later on. That isn't like kind of fancy, so to speak. I think I'm going to do that in the future, try porter again, because things like stouts are like really powerful porters, and I like Guinness. I don't drink a lot of stouts really at all, but I do like Guinness, or I used to like Guinness. I haven't had Guinness in a while. Guinness is a very kind of like, I guess, generic example, but and it's also kind of different in its flavour, I suppose. But I used to drink Guinness more than anything else. Like, I didn't really fuck with lager at the time, interestingly, which I find so interesting. I almost went immediately to Guinness, and I used to drink it exclusively. Like, we would go on, like, when I just turned 18, we would go on nights out. If we were having people around the house and having like a drink, or go, like, even going to like clubs, I would go in and buy a fucking Guinness. And people used to just like be like, "Are you actually getting a Guinness on a night out?" Yeah, Guinness is lovely. It is really nice. I really like Guinness. It can be very heavy, but I like it. but I always imagined it like it's like having a meal. When you're drinking, it is like having a meal. But there we go. So that's my my thoughts for the future. Yeah, that was nice. It's all done now. This is actually short as these go, right? So to wrap us up, last little look. Brewdog. Hazy Jane, New England IPA. United we stand for better beer. Fiercely defiant and independent. Embrace the opaque. I guess because the drink itself is kind of opaque. Yeah, so that's Brewdog Hazy Jane. I enjoyed it. I think I would enjoy it more in a very specific circumstance, as I said, kind of like summer or something like that, being outside in the summer, having a drink in the sun by the pool. That would be a really, really good beer to have. It's very light. It's got a wonderful, wonderful aroma. The taste is hard. Because on the one hand, I kind of liked it because it was this very, very subtle citrusy flavour with a not overwhelming bitterness, but a bitterness nonetheless that reminded you that it is an ale. It wasn't like super thick, but it also wasn't like just water. But at the same time, I kind of wish there was like maybe a little bit more of the aroma in flavour form within there. But as far as it goes, that was really nice. I would personally put it maybe mid-A tier on that tier list if we were making it, which I still haven't done. Maybe I should do that. But yeah, it would be like mid-A tier, I reckon, just based purely on like the flavour, the aroma, all together. I like the way that it looks. I think it looks like a nice beer. The colour's pretty good, because it almost reminds me of drinking juice that makes the drink feel refreshing, like it might be a placebo, but when you look at a drink and it looks like juice, it feels healthy, it feels refreshing, even if it's not, or it gives the illusion perhaps that it might be. Yeah, overall, a really nice drink. Would I have it over a lager? Yes, in certain circumstances. So it's kind of hard to say about all the other drinks, but I think there are a lot of the ales I've had already that I would go. I think I'd rather have even like a Foster's over it. Would I have this over like a Beer Moretti or a Peroni, or even I was going to say a Budweiser, but honestly I think it's kind of on par. Like, I could easily drink another one of these right now. Yeah, I think like mid-A tier is a good place for it. It could move up and down. I want to try some more New England IPA, so it could shift around a little bit. But overall, they're my thoughts and feelings on the drink. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate a little like. If you have the time, if you have the desire to do so, it would be very, very much so appreciated. If you enjoyed, if you're still watching and listening in and can hear this, you obviously enjoyed the video because you made it this far, so you might as well subscribe. If you did enjoy and want to see more, definitely recommended. There's a couple of videos that will be popping up on the screen here and here. You should definitely check them out. They're also pretty good, and I will see you in whatever